to Israel, including 2,000-pound bombs if the IDF invades Rafah.
Civilians have been killed in Gaza as a consequence of those bombs and other ways in which they go after population centers. And I made it clear that if they go into Rafah, they haven't gone into Rafah yet. If they go into Rafah, I'm not supplying the weapons that have been used historically to deal with Rafah, to deal with the cities, to deal with that problem. We're going to continue to make sure Israel is secure in terms of Iron Dome and their ability to respond to attacks like came out of the Middle East recently.
The president's interview with CNN aired just hours after Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin publicly acknowledged the United States did pause a delivery of thousands of bombs last week. Many top Republicans are outraged by that decision. In a rare joint letter, Speaker Mike Johnson and Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell demanded an explanation from the president, saying, quote, security assistance Israel is an urgent priority. The Republican chairs of the House Foreign Affairs and Armed Services Committees also blasted that decision, calling it appalling. In the Senate, Lindsey Graham grilled Secretary Austin about the delay in arms during an Appropriations Committee hearing yesterday.
Okay, so Israel's been hit in the last few weeks by Iran, Hezbollah, and Hamas, dedicated to their destruction. And you're telling me you're going to tell them how to fight the war and what they can and can't use when everybody around them wants to kill all the Jews? And you're telling me that if we withhold weapons in this fight, the existential fight for the life of the Jewish state, it won't send the wrong signal? Do you still think it was a good idea, General Austin, to get out of Afghanistan?
I support the president's decision.
Yeah, I think you do. I think it was a disastrous decision. If we stop weapons necessary to destroy the enemies of the state of Israel at a time of great peril, we will pay a price. This is obscene. It is absurd. Give Israel what they need to fight the war they can't afford to lose. This is Hiroshima and Nagasaki on steroids.
Oh, my God, what a hypocrite. What a hypocrite. What a hypocrite. Republicans sat on their hands for months refusing to give Israel aid. Republicans sat on their hands for months refusing to give Ukraine aid. Republicans sat on their hands for months refusing to give Taiwan aid it needed to push back the communist Chinese from invading their island for months. And now Lindsey, first of all, try some sunscreen, buddy. Lindsey is talking about Hiroshima and Nagasaki. We saw, hey, Lindsey, I don't know if you're on a golf trip when Iran fired thousands of missiles at Israel. Maybe you didn't remember this. Maybe you don't want to remember this. Maybe Donald Trump told you not to remember this. Maybe you've been hanging out with RFK Jr. and maybe a worm ate out part of your brain so you don't have this memory. Here's the United States of America, who stood up for Israel. It was the United States of America that provided the main defense in stopping those Iranian missiles from coming in. It was the United States of America. It was Joe Biden. It was the administration that told Iran we would always stand by Israel's side. And we are standing by Israel's side now and forever. But that doesn't mean we send 2,000-pound bombs for Netanyahu to drop on a densely populated area that has over 1 million people there right now and no place to go. That's your definition of an existential threat? They're killing Hamas commanders as we speak without 2,000-pound bombs. They will kill and continue to kill Hamas commanders. Hamas isn't taking Gaza over again, and you know it. So stop lying. Stop lying. I know it's hard because Donald Trump wants you to say things like that. Willie, if I'm going I support Ukraine. I support Ukraine. And then Donald Trump says, don't support Ukraine. And his hound dog barks, don't support Ukraine. Suddenly he goes, I don't support Ukraine no more. We're going to lease them weapons. What? A country is dying because of Russian invaders? And Vladimir Putin says he has his eyes set on Poland and the Baltic states? And Donald tells you, Lindsey, not to support Ukraine and to hold up funding for Israel and to hold up funding for Taiwan? And you're providing lectures to the Secretary of Defense? What a joke. I don't know if you know this, but we have video, right? They create, okay, so they had film, like, you know, and I don't know, Willie, maybe they created film in like maybe the 1880s or something. And then that film at some point turned into videotape. I don't know when it was. Everybody was buying VHSs in the 70s. My dad decided he had a Betamax.
He was
okay, that tells you all you need to know. My dad played the long game, Lindsey. But even my dad's Betamax could record you saying, we're not giving support for Israel and Taiwan and Ukraine unless we loan them the money. Like, come, what are you watching World War II movies? This isn't 1940 and you're not FDR. Good Lord, Willie. I tell you, this has got my hackles up. I mean, come on, what's he doing? Does he really think we're that stupid? They were the ones holding up support for Israel for months, and now he's doing the Jimmy Swaggart routine, crying, being self-righteous. When we know what happened. Come on, Lindsey. We may have been born at night, Lindsey, but we weren't born last night. How's that? Was that pretty good, Willie?
And the good people at Betamax, thank you for that reference too. They're trying to get things going again. It's been a long road.
I'm trying to get free supplies because I got my dad's Betamax machine. I just don't have the tapes.
Everything
it seems
comes
they stopped
back,
making
Joe.
them in 1984.
You
exactly.
know how vinyl came back? Beta's about to come back. I can feel it. I can feel it in my bones, you know? But you're, of course, right. Lindsey Graham, first of all, has long held himself out as a supporter of Ukraine, a defender of Ukraine, until Donald Trump yanked the chain and the leash and said, don't do that right now.
Yeah.
We're not. Yeah. So he stepped away from that. And we should point out it took months and months and months, but finally there was a foreign aid package passed last month. They got $14 billion worth of aid to Israel. So they are getting what they need. In this case, John, the White House is just making the point that Joe just made. We're not going to supply. We're going to see how you go into Rafah, but we're not going to give you 2,000-pound bombs to be dropped in an urban setting. But the idea that the White House has cut off aid to Israel is preposterous and just objectively wrong.
Right. So the president made that point clear. Just a few weeks ago, it was Americans not only sent weapons to Israel to defend itself against Iran's barrage of drone and rocket attacks, their Iron Dome. The U.S. continues to do that. And in fact, U.S. assets helped shoot down a lot of those rockets. They're defending Israel. The president this week in his Holocaust memorial speech made clear. He's like, we stand with Israel, but you can at times disagree with a friend. And they disagree right now with the plan to go into Rafah. The president in this interview said, look, there's been limited Israeli incursions into Rafah. We think that's acceptable. They've been targeted at Hamas leaders. What we oppose is an all-out invasion that will lead to devastating civilian casualties and add to the humanitarian crisis.